this up like right there and see if that doesn't, because some people said they can't hear me. Here, let me just go ahead and put in the chat. Okay, yeah, and okay, now I got it. Okay, so I got my live stream up here on my screen, and I don't want to hear myself talk because it's like a delay. So, all right. Wow, there's a lot of people here already. Let's see. All right. There's my my good friend right there, Simon Bain. How you doing, man? All right. Okay, so apparently my microphone was down. So if you guys could not hear me what I said before, I did say, this is my first official live stream. And I didn't really announce it. It's just kind of out of the blue. I wanted to try it out for the first time. And so if I mess up, if I do something, don't make fun of me too much. And I just also wanted to do this because over here it's about 10 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. So, and the other thing is it's actually my birthday in a few hours. So I just wanted to do something special. I wanted to try something new. Like I said, I'm not very good at this, so I'll just keep practicing and just keep trying to do it, and just bear in mind with me here. So basically, if you guys look at the live stream title, it pretty much says, opposing force analysis, reinstated general discussion. So what exactly are we going to be basically talking about opposing force? Well, I was actually discussing with Simon Bain over here. He's over here in the chat if you do see him. We were talking about some stuff about the HECU Marines from opposing force, and just as well as the military, and just kind of how it stacks up to the real life military of the early 2000s. Because I guess what a lot of people who played Half-Life, Half-Life is basically set in our real world in 2003, at least from what all the people. Now I know Mark Laidlaw had already stated that Half-Life doesn't this 200X, so we don't know exactly what year it is in between 2000 and 2009. It could be any of those numbers, but I guess people, what they did on the internet, they did some research, they went and did some numbers on some of the characters as far as their birth dates and so on and so forth, and they finally narrowed it down to 2003. And I think there was also a fan film, I think it was called Foxtrot Uniform, and they actually had the movie for Half-Life for the Heku Marines from that film set on in 2003. So it stacks up perfectly. It makes sense. I think that's right for the time that they wrote Half-Life for. So anyways, we'll go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if I can get screen sharing on over here. So I have a dual monitor set up, so I can at least do one thing on one screen and then show you guys on the screen. So it's not really anything too special. We're just gonna be looking at a bunch of internet images. I'm pretty sure you guys have looked them up before in the past. So that we can just kind of analyze all the different things on Half-Life. I don't know if you guys knew, but I actually was talking to one of the main guys who did opposing force on Twitter. Trying to remember what his name is. It just escapes me at the moment. But anyways, I was talking to him, and I was asking him some questions because, as many of you guys know, the channel is pretty famous for creating Reinstated, which is the continuation of Adrian Shepard's story from opposing force into the world of Half-Life 2. And I was asking him some questions because it really was going to help us about how we were going to go about the next episode of Reinstated and what we were going to do for it. And so one of the things I asked him was about Adrian Shepard himself, because he was sort of the character without a face. We knew what Gordon looked like. We knew what Alex and Barney did look like eventually. And and another thing too was I think I was on Lambda Generation's server from Discord, and we were I think there was this guy who was saying this like opposing force and blue shift, like is it even really considered canon? And I think Dread Dial, who was another user here on YouTube, he was doing a video of like, or it was him or someone else that I remember. They were talking about why wouldn't it be canon? Is there anything that would discredit it as being canon? Is there any things that would make it so like, oh, it's kind of retconned here and there? And I was looking at it and I said, you know what? That's actually a good point, because why wouldn't opposing force or blue shift be canon? So I was just kind of thinking about that. Anyways, going on to this. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to kind of look at some of my favorite things. One of my favorite things from Half-Life as a whole is, of course, the HECU, the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit from Opposing Force, who were in the original Half-Life game, but we didn't really know who these guys were. They were just referred to as the military. And then in Opposing Force, they then were expanded upon as the HECU. So it's kind of a cool thing, and I wanted to talk about them because if you guys didn't know, I actually do come from a military family. So I've had my own father and my uncles who have served in the Army and as well as the Navy, and then actually have a cousin who is in or cousin's husband, I should say, who is in the United States Marines now. So I was asking, it's great because now I have a family member who's in the Marines and I can just ask him questions straight up. So I have a lot of consultation in making Reinstated from military members of the family. So I thought it was pretty kind of a cool thing to share with you guys. All right then. So let's get started here. Let me just see if I can get my screen share on here. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can get this on. I'm gonna get my second monitor on. Screen share too. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's see. All right, you guys can see my mouse there. So let's go ahead and let's just kind of look at some stuff. Okay. Now you guys probably seen this a million times if you're a big Half-Life fan, and I look at it from time to time. So all right, the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit. These guys are the ones that are your fellow Marines in Half-Life Opposing Force. Now let's go and take a look more about these guys. So the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, often abbreviated as the HECU, is a fictional United States Marine Corps Special Operations Unit featured prominently in Half-Life and its expansions. And so when we look in the wiki here, we can actually see pretty much all the information. So these guys are from the Santiago military base out in Arizona, and the powered combat. So they also have the technology. They have the powered combat vest, also known as the PCB, tactical map, so on and so forth. They were around in the Black Mesa incident that happened around the early 2000s, and then people say it's 2003. I would believe that. And so yeah, that was all of these guys. And this is interesting. So we'll be talking about Mr. Stephen Ball here very soon, and so we'll just kind of read through it, and I won't read everything because that would be kind of boring, but I would like to go ahead and talk about all the different stuff that they have here on the wiki, and just kind of tell you guys what was accurate and what wasn't, and what was make-believe, but that was done by Gearbox Software when they did the expansion packs. So let's go ahead and just go to the top here. Okay, so the Marines of the HECU are trained specially to deal with a variety of indoor combat situations, particularly involving a dangerous environment and unconventional enemies. Members of the HECU are trained by drill instructors Dwight T. Barnes and Sharp to train at bases guarded and staffed by members of the military police. And the Marines are referred to as the Grunts by the fans of the game, hooray, and also as such by the black operators in the game. So yeah, that's pretty good little summary of who these guys are. Now, I do want to point out here. So these so this was something that I think was really interesting, is like the Black Ops guys. I think in the early drafts when they did this, I don't remember if it was Valve who did this or it was Gearbox. I don't really want to go and search around right now, but I think when I was looking around at some of the concept art, the Black ops were started as the CIA, although they're not referred to that in game. They're just called the Black Operators and Black Operations Crew. So pretty much the Marines are fighting the CIA in this game, or you can call them the Black Ops, and that's pretty scary to think about, because these guys are pretty much part of the same government, and they're fighting each other, but they're kind of different on the spectrum of like the military branches. So one is more of like intelligence, and one's actually military. So I think that that I have no idea if that actually really did happen in history. It may have, and even if it did, we probably would never know about it because it's probably classified. And so yeah, that's pretty interesting. I actually still like the concept, nonetheless, even if it wasn't, if it's just completely outlandish. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and let's just kind of skip here. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was just kind of looking at these guys right here. Okay, so these are all the different Marines and whatnot that we see throughout the game. And I think that this they did a pretty good job when it came to looking at real life military uniforms and whatnot for this game. Now everything wasn't completely accurate, but they did get some really good stuff done when it came to the aesthetics for the Marines, I should say. And I'm going to probably expand about that in just a moment. So I think one of the things, though, when I first played the actual opposing force game, is that these guys over here, if you guys ever played it in chronological order, before you even start the game, there's actually a training level, and you do the basic training camp scenario at Camp Santiago. And so a lot of the recruits that you see around here are actually these guys right here, the recon guys. Now, something really interesting that I was talking about is that when I was speaking with my father on this, when you're a recon Marine, you're already special operations. Recon is special operations already. So the fact that these guys are in basic training and they're already considered recon, that was completely inaccurate as far as the real life military of the Marines. So if you're already force recon, you're already part of the special ops. You don't really need to be going through basic training again. So these guys are actually already force recon, but in the story sense is that they're training to be part of this other special operations unit. So it's even higher than force recon. So that's the make-believe part. And I can see that, but in a real military scenario, when these guys are training, these guys are already part of force recon. So they're not actually, they don't really need to necessarily, be training for basic training again. It's completely inaccurate, but that's okay though. It's part of the fantasy element of Half-Life. Anyways, so let's go back here. So these I'm gonna go and pull up a little bit bigger because these are a little hard to see. So let me go over here and let me just pull up a nicer image. I'm not sure if I can find one here. I could probably pull up this one, but it's not really an official image. I mean, we can look at this one. There's this one here. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and check the chat here. Let's see. Oh, there's another guy here. So Light, yeah, good to see you, Light. Let's see who else is here. I think there was some. I think I have some people here that are part of my Shadowfall crew and Sonic fans. So yeah, don't worry, guys. I'll probably be putting that as far as general discussion because I know you guys will have questions for that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. How's everyone talking about? See, I really like the one with the gas mask. I rarely saw him. It's probably because I like him. Yeah. So this, yeah, Adrian Shepard is, this is, even though you play as the same character model, if you were to zoom out in third person, if you were to go in the console for the game and do this, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Adrian Shepard looks like this guy right here. Okay, so analyzing this dude, so HECU Shepard model. Okay. So looking at this uniform here, I think one of the first things that's out of the blue is these guys are wearing some sort of gray urban camo uniform. Now I'm trying to remember the name of it here. I think I'll probably pull it up over on my other screen, so that way I'm not fiddling around on this one. But this gray urban uniform that the Heku Marines are wearing, this is actually accurate and at the same time not accurate at the same time. So it's a bit weird. And the reason why I say that is because I think around the early 2000s, the Marines were actually choosing their new combat dress uniforms, or I think it's called battle, or I don't know if it's BDUs or something like that. I think that's what it was called. So they were actually choosing their sort of new uniforms at the time. And if you guys remember correctly, this is when I think in the war on terrorism started a couple years after 2001 when 9/11 happened. And so one of the uniforms that they went with the I think the desert camo uniform, as well as the green woodland uniform. That was, I think, the universal camo pattern. I think that's what they called it. And so there was three different designs. There was the desert one, there was the woodland one, and then there was actually an urban one that they had designed. So there was three different models of combat uniforms that they were going to wear. Now, the United States Marines actually only picked two out of the three, the desert one and then the woodland one, but they never did choose the urban one. They decided to cast that one out, get rid of it, and then they used that for a while, and then they ended up choosing another uniform. And I think it was like a digital green brown kind of pattern. And so this uniform that is actually in the game, this is actually accurate. I mean, at the same time, it's not, because it was a real uniform that was going to be chosen by the United States Marine Corps, but they never ended up using it. So that's why it's real, but it's not real at the same time, because it never entered military service. So that's actually pretty cool about these the initial combat dress uniforms that they're wearing. So then the other thing too, the helmet here. So let's take a look at that. So one of the things I pulled up was it's this one. So this helmet is actually part of the I think it's called the PASGT. And if you guys don't know what that is called the Personal Armor System for Ground Troops. Now, this was very present in the 90s and the early 2000s before they switched to the green digital uniforms. I think for the Army they did that, and then they switched it for the Marines to that one I just mentioned earlier. So this was part of their system that they did, and this is the one that we see in Opposing Force. So this was the helmet that you guys see here, that is on this guy right here. So that's actually accurate. They did wear these uniforms in the early 90s and early 2000s. So that is actually accurate. So this helmet was part of the PASGT system that they did. And I think that pretty much this was something I think that was awesome. You know, they combined the actual woodland camo uniform that they did. So that's pretty good. I like that part. So that part of their uniform is accurate. So let's go ahead and take a look at something else. Okay, so this gas mask right here. Now, I know this one's kind of tricky for me, because United States Marine Corps or any military service members, they don't really just wear gas masks just for the heck of it. This was more of just a design choice. And so I know this is kind of a weird thing. And I don't really know too much about it. I think there was this gas mask model was based off of real life gas mask, but the question is whether or not was it used by the Marines. I'm not really sure, and if it was, it would only be used in certain situations where they couldn't breathe. I have a question over here. Let's see. Why are we talking about this again? Okay, so like I said, if you guys didn't know about the title, so I'm just talking about the Opposing Force, Heku Marines in general. Just kind of seeing what was real and what wasn't about it. So that's what we're discussing right now. In case if you didn't know what we're talking about. So we're just discussing some Opposing Force stuff and just seeing what was accurate about it, what wasn't accurate. About the military inside the game, and then we're going to talk about Reinstated, and then we're just going to take some general questions and whatnot in the end. So like I said, it's not going to be the most fun type of video that you want to watch, but at the same time, it's a way for me to connect with you guys. And this is, again, my first streaming sort of deal. So again, I'm very new to this, and I just wanted to try it out for once and see what you guys think. And if you guys like it, great. If not, then I'll try to see if I can tweak it and maybe do something better. So let's see. Okay. Okay, so yeah, because I know that a lot of people love Half-Life, and I think one of the cool thing is that gets overlooked is that Half-Life is set in, again, in our real world in the early 2000s. A lot of us were alive back then, and this is when Half-Life was still alive and well before Valve decided they were going to cancel it in 2007 and just decided not work on it anymore. Um, and just move on with their Steam platform. So, anyways, okay. So yeah, this is pretty. I would say this is, for the most part, it's a good try, but it's not entirely accurate, but accurate a little bit in some cases. Now, and the PCV vest, that is completely fantasy. There is no real life variant of it whatsoever. I mean, you could say uh, it's part of the fantasy thing that Gearbox created. I know that when if any of you guys have played the Black Mesa game, I know that the helmets for them and those with those guys, I think there might be a picture around here somewhere. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. So there's one right there, but I can't really see them as a whole. Let's see. Let's go up here. So I know I just found one. It's got to be a good one of someone right here, I think. No, that's a mod. Just go on through. Maybe we could just look at this one then. Okay, you can kind of see it right now. Okay, let's see. So yeah, if you guys played the Black Mesa Half-Life 1 remake, so the creators of the Crowbar Collective team, they went a little bit more with their own art style with it, and again, I'm not sure exactly what uniform this would be as far as a real life variant, and I honestly just it's kind of foreign to me. This looks like it was like a combination of like the urban uniform that was going to be used by the Marines, as well as the United States Army uniform that was, I think, indoctrinated within 2005, I believe. So here, the soldiers don't have their sleeves rolled up. And one of the things I think was interesting was that I think the Marines are still able to do that nowadays. And then at some point for the U.S. Army, they were actually allowed to do that with their uniforms. But in 2005, when they redesigned it, they weren't allowed to do that anymore because the sleeves were not designed to actually do that. So at some point, if you guys look back here, you notice on a lot of the old Heku Marine models is that a lot of their sleeves are rolled up. So that was actually a standard uniform change here that happened in the mid 2000s for the U.S. Army, and I think the U.S. Marines were still able to do it. I'm not so sure on that. If I'm wrong, then I'm sorry. But anyways, that's something that I definitely remember when I saw a lot of these Marines and soldiers walking around when I was, invited to a lot of the family events for the military. Is that a lot of times these military uniforms, they were allowed to roll up their sleeves for their combat stuff. So, anyways, that was something that I remember. Okay, so I think that kind of does it for that. I think there was a few more things I wanted to talk about as far as the hazardous environment combat unit, and then we're going to get on to Reinstated. So let's go ahead and let's just kind of see some other stuff here. Okay, now this one's probably not here, but one of the things that I had remembered I discussed with some of the other guys who, some of the family members who actually watched Opposing Force, and then they saw this drill sergeant who was reminiscent of this drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. He was repeating a lot of the same stuff, just some stuff kind of changed here and there. A lot of times the drill sergeants in the game, they were actually referring to the Marines as soldiers. So it was kind of weird, and that's not the same thing. Soldiers are U.S. Army, Marines are Marines. So that was kind of a bit of a weird military jargon that they, or Marine jargon that they use. So instead of saying, I thought I was training soldiers here, I'm like, no, you're training U.S. Marines. Soldiers are part of the Army. So I don't know exactly why you said that. But again, I'm pretty sure Gearbox didn't have too much military consultation on whenever they were working on. Okay, so yeah, that was another thing that I noticed when I was playing the game. And okay, so let me go ahead and just kind of skip through all this. So, another thing too, I know that it says right here, A lot of the troops were deployed in V-22 Osprey craft. Okay, so one of the things I remember that I was told is that the V-22 Ospreys were not really in service during the early 2000s. I mean, they were around, but they were still testing it, and they were still kind of experimenting with it. It wasn't part of their actual deployment vehicles or anything like that. So it was in this universe. In this universe, they were saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, they've been developed. They tested it. They liked it. And it's inside the military community or whatever." And they said, "Okay, this is what we're going to be using for our deployment vehicles." I'm like, "Okay, all right." So that's fantasy make believe. So that's one of the things I remember that I was told, and so I really did like that. So, and I think the Apache was also around back then, so that's pretty accurate. Let's see. Oh yeah, see here's all the information here. So here's all the information here. I think that you guys can take a look at. So MP5, yeah, space. So this is so I'm actually gonna be talking about Reinstated here because when I was looking at all of this, and I was kind of looking at this and I was like, okay, so when I designed Reinstated, we really got to go ahead and we got to really do some stuff that's different, but at the same time lining up with what opposing force did as well as the military at the time for the early 2000s did, and then we got to transfer that over to the world of Half-Life 2. Okay, so one of the things that I was looking at was the weapons that they were using. So yeah, most of the weapons that they were using, yeah, those were all around, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them were used during military service. I don't think they were all restricted to just one type of weapon for whatever they were using. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And then opposing force, I think that's pretty much it as far as the military aspect of it. I mean, everything else is just it's just part of the story and of Half-Life. So really I was just talking about the aesthetics and whatnot. Okay, so I think it's time to go ahead and talk a little bit about Reinstated. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a nice little thing that we were doing here. So hold on a second. Let's pull up like a nice little image of what I was doing earlier so you guys actually know. Okay, so yeah, maybe I'll just do that. That'd be good. Okay, so there we go. I'll just go and leave that on the screen for right now. I really don't want to show you guys too much what I'm working on because I wanted it to all be a surprise when it eventually does release. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Reinstated. So what exactly is Reinstated, and what are you going to be doing next? Okay, so Reinstated was a Saxy entry that I did back in 2015, with the first one that started at least. And so when I was talking about Adrian Shepard with a lot of the Half-Life community, I was like, I'm a little upset about the fact that Adrian Shepard never really did make it into the sequels of Half-Life 2 or Episode 1, Episode 2, or Lost Coast or anything like that. And then what I said at the beginning of the video or the stream here was that I was talking about how why wouldn't opposing force or blue shift or Half-Life DK be considered canon as far as the Half-Life official storyline goes? And so I was saying, what would discredit it from becoming part of the canon? Is there anything that really, and don't, not a pun here, but is there anything that rivals it as far as retconning certain events, things that don't make sense, that don't line up? And I was looking at all of it and I said, there's not really much that would discredit it from being part of the official storyline. Like it is very plausible that all of this really did actually happen. And I think a lot of people, it's just, there's been such a sort of a divide, I would say, for Half-Life as far as these characters are canon, these characters are not canon, they're just kind of dead characters. I remember I was looking at a Reddit post after I did my first, I think it was not first, second Reinstated episode, which was actually I consider that one the first. It's the second Reinstated video, but it's the first of the actual Reinstated line. The first was a prologue, the second was the actual first episode, I would say. And anyways, when I was talking about it, I was saying, you know, what would there was this guy who was saying, you know what, no one really does care about this stupid character. He's dead. Why is everyone thinking that an SFM video could really revive this character back? And you know what? I'm not going to hate on the guy for doing it, but it's a character that a lot of people still care about. And I think that it would do justice if, even if Valve didn't want to go and do Half-Life Episode 3 or anything like that, they should have at least handed the series off to their trusted partners that they worked with in the past, Gearbox Softwares, to maybe go back and actually do a story just in a different place at a different time, and even continue on a character that was part of the original expansion packs. And I think that would have been a really smart move if they didn't want to, go forward. They can at least go back and tell a different story somewhere else. Again, a traditional Half-Life expansion pack just now in the world of Half-Life 2. I feel like that's something they could have done. And they just really didn't want to do that. They just kind of said, all right, Steam is up. We're not really going to concentrate on gaming for a while. And, now they're saying that, of course, we're back in gaming, but that's not the point. Anyways, going back here, talking about the canon and what isn't canon. Blue Shift. I know that Barney Calhoun, a lot of people like to say it's not the same Barney, but I like to consider that the same Barney Calhoun that appears in Half-Life 2 is the same exact security guard that we played in Blue Shift. It makes sense because Barney was never contacted by the G-Man, and we didn't see the G-Man too much in Blue Shift. And if we didn't see him that much or not at all, I'm not really sure. I'm not very detailed when it comes to playing the game. I love playing it, and if I haven't really seen him unless it's like he's hiding somewhere. But anyways, Barney never really did interact with the G-Man. He's the only character that hasn't in the expansion packs. And then one of the other things is that he's one of the only characters from the original expansion packs, with the exception. Yes. I was going to say Decay, but that doesn't make sense. But he actually was one of the characters that actually did escape Black Mesa with Dr. Rosenberg at the end of Blue Shift. So if you guys don't remember that, he does escape Black Mesa with some of the other scientists, and they get away clean. However, the other characters that you play as, Adrian Shepard, Gordon Freeman, Gina Cross, and Colette Green, they all either got stuck at Black Mesa and we don't know what happened to them, or they got put in stasis. In this case, two people got put in stasis, was Gordon Freeman and Adrian Shepard. We don't know what happened to Dr. Cross or Dr. Green. We don't know what happened to them. So Barney was the only one that actually did escape. And so, Gordon appeared and then in the sequels, and then we had Barney that appeared in the sequels, but nothing with Adrian Shepard. So I guess that's like where I felt that was a little unfair. I'm like, okay, well, how come this character from one of the expansions packs, appears in the sequel, but and as well as the main character, but how come our favorite U.S. Marine never did? And that's what really got me into really doing the Reinstated thing as a whole. And I wanted to do a nice little video kind of paying tribute to our favorite, one of our favorite characters in Half-Life. And, he was, I feel that he was forgotten about for the longest time. And so over here, yeah. So Shepard was considered detained. Again, that's a replacement word for saying that he was put in stasis. The G-Man's keeping him in a nice secret place where no harm can come to him, and where he can't really speak about the events of Black Mesa, where he can't talk to anybody. And I guess that's where where Reinstated comes in and says, well, hold on a sec. If the G-Man's keeping him there, how come he's out of stasis now? How come he's not floating around in an Osprey in space anymore? How come he's appeared in City 14, which is where Reinstated is taking place? Well, that's part of the mystery, and that's part of the part that we're going to find out more as we go along here. And if people continue to support Reinstated, then we'll find out more. So I think that's one of the things that's where we're going to end up finding out. And there's a possibility that we'll also be bringing back characters from the other expansion packs that were their stories were never really completed, and we never really did find out what happened to them. So we also really want to finish up with seeing some of the other characters as well. Okay, so one of the other things I know that people were asking was, when's Reinstated going to release? Are you still working on it? And I did state a lot of times, yes, I am still working on it. If you guys did not know, is that now I actually have a few people with me. So I do have a team now that's helping me with the next episode of Reinstated. And we're working diligently. We're trying to see if we can actually get this in time for the next Saxy Awards. Now we don't know exactly how we're going to go about it, as far as just because this next Reinstated episode, from what we estimate, it's going to be very. It's not very, but it's going to be longer than what we usually do. So it's going to be longer than the 5 minutes. So we might have to split some stuff up. So it might be a part one, and then there might be a part two on on the Reinstated episode from when you guys see the Saxies again, and then we might do the full video. And I guess this is an appropriate time to also talk about a new channel that we're going to be launching. We're Reinstated in a lot of our Half-Life stuff, as well as our full completed movies that I work with teams alongside Sheath Entertainment is going to be releasing. So we're actually so this is where I'm going to say we're going to be releasing a new channel that's called Pipeline Pictures, and that's where the full unedited part of Reinstated is going to be posted, and as well as the eventual Shadowfall episode one that's going to be posted there eventually too, because I do have people that help me work up with that. So don't worry, Sheath Entertainment is still going to have a lot of videos in there. It's going to be kind of a double post. So I'll have one on there, and they're going to be over there as well. I just like to post the official movies because Sheath Entertainment is more of my channel where if I wanted to go and do something different, and even if it's not complete, or if it it's just testing, that's my own personal channel, and that's something that you guys have already I've already gotten used to over the last 4 years. So so I'll be having another channel with that. But anyways, keep an eye out for that. It's going to be it'll probably be out when the next episode of Reinstated will be released as well. And I'm really excited about it. I know that my team is really excited about releasing it as well. We just want to do the best we can, as well as pleasing the Half-Life community, because we've had, the community of Half-Life has just had so much stuff to go through the years. The most recent one was the horrendous Hunt Down the Freeman, and I can't even say that without rubbing my eyes, because that was such a disaster on both Valve and the fans as a whole. Is when it came to people, some fans wanted to get together and make a cool Half-Life game, and they ended up making something that went completely against what made Half-Life. Anyways, so let's see. It can be released in 2025 for all I care, as long as it's good. Yeah. We have Half-Life fans. I actually posted this on Twitter. Half-Life fans have such a great and unique ability to be able to wait patiently for great Half-Life stories and games. It's just that's one of I consider Half-Life fans one of the coolest fan communities out there, because they're just so polite, just talking about Half-Life as a whole. And they really just have a good will as far as patience and just being able to wait for things to come out. And yes, we do have some of those people who are very vocal when it comes to making those memes of like Half-Life 3 confirmed, or like, when is it going to release, Valve? And a fan base is not without its own people here and there. You know what I'm talking about. But anyways, it's a really cool thing, I would say, as far as just the community as a whole. They're really cool, and I really think that it's something that I'm glad to be a part of, and as well as expanding upon, as well as getting to talk to you guys about it. And I think that one of the things that I would really love doing is just being able to make little films like this, just to keep the Half-Life name alive. So I think that's one of the cool things. I think talking about Half-Life fans in general is just it's just an amazing community to be a part of. And now that I'm part of the Source filmmaker community, these guys are extremely helpful as well. I'm part of such a huge base of people, and that's how I got to meet my own team, is just being part of this base, on Discord, and being able to talk with everybody. It's such a great thing to to really just be involved in. So anyways, let's do this. Okay. So Reinstated. let's answer some I guess some questions about it, because there's a lot of material to cover. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably keep the stream on for just a little bit, and that'll probably be it for me for the night. And then hopefully next time if I do a stream, we can really do talk about some more in-depth stuff. Oh, and I'm also open to talking about Shadowfall stuff. So if you guys here are part of my Shadowfall crew, or I would say, following, you can also ask me questions about, Sonic or whatnot, because I know there's a lot to talk about that. Again, I don't really want to say too much, but at the same time, you guys do deserve some information. I'm not going to be like Valve and just be silent on it the entire time, because that is terrible when it comes to them. They are not very good when it comes to communicating with their fans. So yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So yeah, man, this brings me back a lot of times, just looking at these old images. So if you guys have questions, now is the time to ask. I'm probably just going to be looking at stuff, I guess. Yeah, so this person over here was saying it's great that we have Reinstated, because I've always wanted Opposing Force 2 to be a thing that's real. That's why I was so sad to see Opposing Force 2 mod canceled now. That's really good. That's a good point to bring up, CW3D. So one of the things I was looking at is, so you guys don't worry, because this is something really cool I consider. Yes, there was a mod that was called Opposing Force 2, which is what Reinstated was heavily inspired by, as well as using a lot of the assets that they had released on the internet to put it back into Reinstated as a film. And one of the things that we're using is we're actually using, oh, I forgot to talk about this. One of the things that we're using is some of the weapons that they had designed, and I think it was really cool because it matched the world of Half-Life, as well as continuing the lore of what they were doing. So I remember, if you guys remember early in the video, is that we were talking about the weapons of the HECU Marines, and one of the things that they use is the MP5 with the grenade launcher. Now, if you guys don't know, is that the MP5 is developed by Heckler and Koch. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but yes, it's developed by H&K, if you want to go and call it that. And they developed the MP5. I think it was somewhere around the 80s, but again, I'm not looking that up as I'm doing this, but it is a real weapon, and it was developed by them. And then if you guys played Half-Life 2, it was the MP7, and that was the same company that designed the MP5. So Valve really does use a lot of the weapons that was developed by that company. It's a German company, and I think it's really cool. So one of the things that I wanted to do for Reinstated was continue that same tradition of using the weapons that were developed by this company, and even in a fictional sense now. And the reason why I say that is because if you guys didn't know, and I'm going to pull up a image here, so you guys are going to probably end up seeing this in the next episode of Reinstated. So let me go ahead and just get to Google. Oops, spelled that wrong. And let me bring up. So one of the weapons that we are going to be introducing in Reinstated that was actually inside of Opposing Force 2 was called the SMG2, and we're going to call that Heckler and Koch. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, there we go. All right, there we go. So if you guys remember this was here. Here's an image of it right here from the Opposing Force 2 game. This one is called the SMG2 by H&K. And this was actually going to be a realistic weapon that was designed by them that was supposed to be the successor to the MP5. However, it never really did make it beyond the concept stages into production. And I think some private security forces do actually still use this weapon, but it's not part of any military, and it's not part of any actual production line. So the MP5 still was and continued its line of service in militaries, and as well as other factions around the world. So this weapon, as real as it looks, and it looks like it could be something that's used by our military, it is actually not really used anywhere prominently. It's was one of their weapon designs, and I think there was only a few models that were really made. But yeah, this is a weapon that was never really entered service, which I was sad to see because it looks really cool. And again, it adds to the Half-Life lore. Um, we really wanted to. One of the things I discussed with my team was is that we really wanted to continue that. Do something new, but at the same time is still sticking to the Half-Life tradition of aesthetics. So we wanted to do an HNK weapon, but at the same time, we wanted to do something new. We didn't want to do the MP5 because in the world of Half-Life, the MP5 would be considered a outdated weapon from 2003. We wanted to show something that was, that the Combine had maybe stumbled upon and started doing production for, as far as firearms. And this is one of the weapons that we decided to go with. It's a real weapon that was developed by H&K, even though and it was never really in production in real life. However, in the world of Half-Life, it is now a weapon used by the Combine forces as well as the synths that are still there. So there you go. That's one of the new things that we're going to be probably end up showing in the next new episode of Reinstated. I really like it. It was actually in the Opposing Force 2 game, and I was blown away by it. It was wow. It was really cool, and I thought it looked. I thought it would look pretty badass myself. So I decided, okay, let's use it. Let's put it into Reinstated as the sort of new weapon for our little SFM series. And yes, another thing I wanted to say was that each city in the world of Half-Life is different. City 17 has the Combine forces there. They have their synths and their the Combine soldiers to deal with certain urban areas as well as. So their synths are based upon what kind of combat areas that they're in and what kind of enemy they're dealing with. So if you guys ever played Half-Life 2 Episode 2, the Striders were they're made for the forest engagements as well as, or I'm sorry, not the Striders. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hunters. That's the one I meant. Hunters are made for the forest environments, and they're made to go on recon scout missions for Striders and larger Combine units and formations. So those guys are used for those types of environments as well as like we saw them in the Arctic. When Dr. Mossman was giving their transmission in episode 1 as well as reviewing it in episode 2, the Hunters were in that environment as well. So different synths are used depending on their environments and who they're engaging. So that's what I wanted to see in Half-Life 2 Reinstated, is that we wanted to see different synths because of the environment that they're in. Depending on like what kind of enemies that the Combine have to deal with in that certain area. So that's why we see a lot of these beta enemies. So let me go ahead and pull up some beta stuff so you guys can take a look at. Okay, so if you guys watched Reinstated Part 2, or I'm sorry, Reinstated The Arrival Part 1, and then you guys will see the alien assassin that was inside of the episode. So we saw the alien assassin who works for the console, and he's pretty much like a nice little spy guard because he needs to be able to watch over the city because cities are big. You don't have eyes exactly everywhere, so sometimes you might have to have a little guy to really do some work for you if something happens. So alien assassin, again, this guy works specifically for the console, and he acts as his like intelligence kind of dude. And so so there's this guy, and we might see cremators eventually. I won't say if they are going to be in it or not. And again, I don't want to reveal too much. So we might see some Striders, so some returning things from Half-Life 2 as well. So we're going to probably end up seeing some other things. Now, like I said, I went back and I said that, it's dependent on what Combine forces what kind of Combine synths they're going to deploy in that area. It could be Hunters. It could be Stalkers that are modified for combat. It could be Combine Guards. Again, it's based upon what kind of enemy that they're fighting in that city as well as what their environment is. So I will say this, but I won't say who, is that in City 17, Dr. Breen, as well as City 17 being the Combine's stronghold of Combine control on Earth, City 17 is more of an urban area. It's in the it's in the mountains near White Forest, and the Dr. Breen and the Combine there have a rebel problem. However, in City 14, it's out in the wasteland where there's a big open environments that surrounds the city. And City 14, and as well as the console, the dude who rules over everything, they don't have a rebel problem. They have something that's much worse, a more trained enemy that they have to deploy these kind of synths after them, so they don't use. So another thing you guys are going to probably see is that we're probably not going to be seeing Combine transhuman soldiers here. The console really told Breen, hey, listen, Breen, we're not using these Combine soldiers because they're inadequate. The console thinks that they're inadequate for combat service. He needs something stronger in order to deal with the kind of problem that they have in City 14. So that's something that you guys will probably notice when you guys see more episodes released in the future, if you guys continue to support it. Okay, so let's go on. And yeah, let me see some of the other stuff that you guys have asked. Okay, let's see. I think they're posting Force 2 replacement, but it's such a cool weapon. Yeah. So Sheep Entertainment, you heard of the Cold War American guys that Taggart is working on? Just search, go there. Yeah, find pics. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's cool. The Dark Interval mod has the cool alien assassin. Yeah, I played the Dark Interval mod. I think one of my team members on here, he was actually working for the guy that was doing that mod, and he was talking to me about it. And so he was talking to me about some of the voice actors and some of the work that he did, and it's really impressive. I thought that was really cool. I really like the Dark Interval mod very much. And one of the things that I wish that they would have worked on, as well as as far as functionality get working, was I think there was no actual face posing, as well as mouth movement on the characters in that game. So when I was looking at like characters like Odessa, he wasn't. I noticed like a lot of the characters' mouths weren't moving. The voice file was playing, but their mouths and their face didn't really give an expression. They were just kind of looking at you, and I was like, oh, I didn't even notice that for a second until I actually looked at them. So I think that was one of the things that I wish that had been fixed. But by all means, that does not mean that one little thing does not overshadow the entire game. I thought it was perfect the way it was. It's just another great thing to say about Dark Interval is that it was such a great atmosphere to go back to the beta and see what Valve was working on before they decided to change it after the hack in 2003, I believe it was. Face posing is in the mod now. Oh, great. I'll probably have to go back and play it sometime, and maybe I'll live stream it at some point too, so we can kind of take a look. So that would be kind of a cool thing. Face posing them on that, but they don't really have facial expressions. Oh, okay. Well, either way, I might go back and play the game again, because I only really did play it once. But in order to get a real good sense of the game, you got to play it multiple times and really get a good full aspect of the atmosphere and stuff that they're in. So I think that's really cool. They are said to have 8-point caps and barrettes and everything. Okay. Cool. All right. So again, if you guys got questions for me, definitely ask them now, because I'm going to probably be ending this live stream within the next 8 minutes. So again, this is the perfect time to ask me stuff, because I'm extremely busy during the day and I don't usually get back to people, just because I have so many people that contact me at once, and I'm already doing stuff out here. So yeah. And then if you guys didn't know, is I'm really so adamant of just connecting with the community as well as the people that watch my stuff, because you guys are really what keeps the channel alive. Is that I'll even go as far as helping people out, as far as SFM, just one-on-one sessions, kind of like your own personal trainer. If you guys really do like this one, if you guys have never tried Source Filmmaker, which is a great tool for creating animated movies and CG movies, and as like an app, like just indie type filmmaker. I'm really cool on helping you guys out when it comes to stuff like that. It's I know I haven't really done too much as far as tutorials and whatnot, but I would definitely like to help you guys one-on-one, because I felt that making videos and tutorials they do help, it looks like, for some people, but I'd rather have it where I'm actually sitting down and talking with the person. So if you guys didn't know, I do have several degrees in filmmaking. One is actually called telemedia production specialist, which is actually a certificate that I have, and then another one that I just graduated recently with was we call it telemedia technology, but it's just another way of saying film technology. So it's just another way of me saying that I've had training in some of my other software as well as teaching myself SFM. So I would love to help you guys out as much as I can. With any software that you learn some more just from talking to other people. So there may be stuff that I'll learn from you guys, and then you guys may learn from me. It's kind of like a nice little collab thing. Okay, so are we going to see the other soldiers? Are we going to see the other soldier? Well, in this case, I think that Light, you might be talking about the Marines, because again, Marines are Marines, soldiers are U.S. Army. So, as far as seeing any of the past members that Adrian Shepard has been with, we will probably end up seeing them maybe in a memory type thing. But as far as like hooking up again in the storyline, that's kind of a slim to none, I would say. And yeah. Oh, you know what? Someone here is asking me, what models have been using for Reinstated here, and yeah, I will. I'll tell you. So another thing that you guys are going to notice is that some things are going to change in the next Reinstated episode. So you're going to look back at the first arrival, and you're going to be like, wait, the Citadel looks different, or this looks different, or this looks different. Yeah, I'm changing models out every now and then, and just working with things that look as close as I can to the original game. Or at least having a little bit something that's modernized, but at the same time has like that original 2003 look to it. And so, yeah, that's what I was thinking as far as the models go. So again, so Gomi, just go ahead and email me again if you want, and then I'll direct you in the right direction if you want to make your own Marines or videos or whatever. I really don't mind. Have you ever thought of actually making a Reinstated mod? No, I have not. And actually, I did, but what I meant to say was no, I don't want to make a mod because first of all, I have no idea how to make a game, and I'd probably be very terrible at it, and I'd probably be making something that's like a reinstate, or no, not like a Hunt Down the Freeman type mod, and I just don't want that to happen. I'd get so much backlash. So my technical prowess and my expertise is in the film making aspect. So the guy who made the cutscenes for, let's say, Hunt Down the Freeman, that would be more of my forte. That's something I could do. I wouldn't be able to make a game. It would something that I just don't have the ability to do. I'm not a game maker. I'm a filmmaker. Let's get off this page here because it's kind of a lot to take in. So let's go ahead and just put the live stream up here, actually. No, that's an infinite Windows. Never mind. Are you going to play Opposing Force live? I don't know. If you guys want me to, I can. I'm not very I'm not a hardened gamer as far as some other people on YouTube, but if it's something that you guys want me to do, maybe sure, I'll be open to it. If you guys don't know, one of the big things that I play a lot is Sven co-op. I love really just playing with a lot of different people online and just doing co-op because for me, it gets kind of lonely playing those types of games by myself. But if I have people kind of with me, it really does have that sense of team and having just fun with other people. So playing games alone is really cool, but it's even cooler when you play with other people. So I think that's always something that I've had when I play games. So, I was just asking about that. Are you going to play that? Yeah. So anyways, it's let's Just kind of scrubbing through my messages here because I've been focusing more on my other screen than I have this one. Man, there's a lot of people here. Well, same people, but so. By the way, that model's private, right, Adrian? Yeah, it is. It is for now. So sorry, I'm not going to be sharing that with you guys. We did have to go through a lot of stuff that we had to modify for it to, for the film. Have you considered releasing reinstated models once you're ready to release them to the public? Well, in all honesty, I can't re-release them. So because the reason why I say that is because we did start with so we're actually using, I can actually link it to you guys. We are using Simca's models, but what we did was we did change some stuff on the model to look more like the Heku Marines. And we did do a lot of stuff to it to make sure it looked like, what Adrian did. So one of the things is that, I know a lot of Gmod makers and a lot of people who do a lot of the model making process is that they don't want their models to be redistributed and edited and then all of a sudden like it's saying it's theirs. Now for a film making aspect, it's it's okay to use it for just film and then of course credit the person who does modeling it. But in a gameplay aspect, if you make a model or if somebody else makes a model and then you re-release it and you modify it and say it's yours, that's kind of that's kind of not something I don't want to do because that's someone else's thing. And of course if you use it in a film making aspect and you use it just to do a story with it, then that's fine. But making a game or doing it for a gameplay sense, that's a whole nother situation there, and I really don't want to get into that. So are you going to use stuff from Half-Life Opposing Force like sounds and I don't know, stuff that I don't understand? Yeah, no, I don't really know. I don't have I don't really have a opinion on that. I mean, we may use some stuff from Opposing Force as far as the original sounds and whatnot, but you got to remember Opposing Force and a lot of the sound design that they did for that game, it was very low quality and it's all mono tracks. So there is no real actual dedicated stereo tracks because the Gold Source engine really only had certain limits that it could do as far as sound and gameplay and mechanics and graphics and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of that has to be recreated with modern equipment and actors and all kinds of other stuff. Yes, I do live in California, and a lot of people do consider us really crazy in the United States, and I would say so because I'm not part of that crowd, but we are considered like the liberal capital of the world here. So, yeah. I'm not going to really say anything about politics-wise because this channel is based upon just video game stuff and cool, stuff within the video games. So I'm not going to go real too political on it. So my focus is on just making sure that the Half-Life fans are happy, and my fans are happy when it comes to just releasing cool stories. Are you working on stuff like funny stuff? No, I did actually have a thing in mind that if I did want to do something funny for the Saxies as far as a comedy entry, it was doing this thing that if you guys ever research the Black Mesa bloopers that they did, there was this funny blooper that they had that was like, um, what was it? It was like a security guard was sitting, I think, in somewhere near the announcement, the Vox announcements, and the Vox announcement girl started saying like some really weird stuff about like, you know, people dismembering their arms or getting stuff stuck indoors, and the security officer was saying like what? Like what's she talking about? Like who's saying this? And I thought it was super hilarious, and I just went, and it was the voice file only. It was just a blooper. I was thinking of like taking that audio and making it an actual animation and doing the animation for it, so that I can actually turn it into like a funny little, you know, video for the comedy entry. And I I thought about that, and I was like, I don't know. My channel is more of like the serious type stuff. I'm not really into the whole comedy scene. And if you guys want to go and do that, there's plenty of other animators out there that does that, and you know, they make some really funny stuff. Have you ever played the Half-Life 2 mod Entropy Zero? If so, what did you think of it? And okay, have I played the Entropy Zero Half-Life 2 mod? You know what? I think that was one of the mods that I have yet to play. And I think it's on the Steam store. If not, I know it's on ModDB, and I have not gotten to play it yet. I think the list of mods that I have actually played before have been, I believe, what was it? It was like, I know I played Black Mesa. I played the Opposing Force 2 demo. I know I played Dark Interval. I played The Lost Coast. I think I played Elements. I forget the name of the number. Is it 120 or something like that? Two something. You guys have to remind me because I don't remember the number. But I played that one. I've played. Let's say. God, there's so many that I've already played. Minerva Metastasis, that was my favorite. Yeah. So I've played quite a few mods myself. And I think there was another one that I played that I really liked. I forgot who it was though. I think it was called 1187. Let me look that up right now. Let me try that. Half-Life 1187. I really liked that game. That was really good. There was some things about it that I was like, it was kind of broken, or it was something like that. But if you guys have not been playing this yet, try to do it. It's called Half-Life 2 mod 1187, and it talks about it's in between the Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 stories, and it takes place somewhere in the Netherlands, and you play as this guy, and it's right before when the 7-hour wars start, and I think that these dudes are hunting you down. I think they're part of the original Black Ops crew, so something's like so another government agency is trying to prevent you from knowing the truth, and you meet up with this guy. But anyways, I'll leave that to you guys to figure out for yourselves and experience, because it's a really good mod. I really did play and I loved it. And I felt like it really did expand on some like the other parts of Half-Life that we didn't know about. So I really wish they would have released like a part 2 to it, but I guess these guys went and did something else with, I guess, I don't know, some other game that they're working on. I really don't know. Is your name Kyle? And if not, why is there one called Kyle there? Yes, that is my name. Yes, my name is Kyle, but I call myself KAL or Cal because that is actually my initials. So that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and try this mod out for yourselves, guys, if you guys have never played it. Okay, so I think I'm going to be wrapping up here very soon. It looks like some people have already left because it's late, and I think there's only like 6 people watching now. So I'll take maybe a few more questions, and that's it. Hey, any mod recommendations? Other than the big ones on Steam, again, this one right here that I have on my screen, 1187. Yeah, definitely play that one. That's a really good one, I feel, that I loved. And if you guys have not played the Opposing Force 2 mod demo, again, Opposing Force 2 is never going to release because the team canceled it. But if you haven't played the demo yet, at least try it out, because that's where a lot of the concepts for Reinstated came from. And yeah, so try that one. And Black Mesa, the great solid remake of Half-Life 1. I love that. And yeah. Oh, and Minerva Metastasis again, big one. Loved it. Play it. It's good. Okay. So yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. I'm surprised that no one really asked me about you know, Sonic stuff on here, because I did have a few people that I think were on here, but again, I have to try to get some people on board with the whole new live streaming thing. So anyways, so I won't be like I won't be one of those dudes that live streams all the time, so I apologize for that. But whenever I can and I have some time for it, then I'll sit down and probably do it with you guys, because I know I always want to stay connected with you guys on the channel. And yeah, so if you guys have if you guys don't know, I do have an email. So if you guys do want to ask me questions on stuff, you can always go to my About page on YouTube, and I think it's there. I'm also on Twitter, and I know I have a Facebook page on there. I just haven't really been updating that one. If you guys have been following me on there, but yeah. Like a stream schedule. Yeah. See, I don't keep any of that stuff. I'm not a big streamer. The channel's not based on live streaming games or anything like that. If you guys want live streaming games, follow PewDiePie or, Markiplier or some of those other big guys who play games all the time and live stream. Those guys are the really ones that you should be watching. Me, I usually just talk about stuff and just kind of show you guys. I think maybe at one point I'll do a live stream and maybe do some SFM stuff for you guys, because I know that's some of the things that my friends on here do, and some of the people that I work with do as well. So they do some of that stuff for SFM. Okay. How many episodes are you going to make of Reinstated? It's dependent on how well the next episodes of Reinstated are received. So if you guys really like it, I'll just keep on going with it. If it just if it's not getting that much traction after a while or whatnot, then I think it'll be time for it to just move for me to move on to something else. And you got to remember, as an animator, this stuff does take a while, because it's not just the animation. We have to do sound, we have to do voice acting, we have to do post-production, we have to, in the animation itself, all of that gets combined into one, and it takes a long time to do, especially if you want to make it really good as far as quality. A lot of people think that, why don't you releasing animations every couple of months like some of these other guys? Well, those guys, they cut corners in some places, and I've done that before. I won't lie about it. I have done that before myself as far as my animations, and I just realized I don't really want to do that. I want to make something really cool and something of real good quality. It's what sets me apart from some of the other guys. And yeah, so okay, it looks like this one guy's like live stream. Oh, okay. So live stream every month, like once. Okay. And you don't need to capitalize your words, because I understand you're probably shouting at me through the screen like, you don't understand my question. Like, okay, look, you relax. All right, it just takes me a moment to really understand what you're trying to get at me here. So okay, yeah. So if I'll again. At the same time, I'm very busy as far as my my if I'm not doing animation and I'm doing my real life stuff, I am very busy as far as what I'm doing on the outside here. And if I do get to live stream at least once, that's great. But my focus has to be on school and doing work, and then this is just something I do in my spare time. So it's not as dedicated as I want it to be, but there are some aspects, especially when when you're grown up, you have to learn to be able to balance what you like to do as well as the stuff that you have to do in life. And this is one of the things that I have to make sure that I'm balanced on. So yeah, anyways, Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it here very soon. So if you guys were watching, thank you very much for supporting the channel, and I hopefully that you guys, if you guys do catch my live stream, I'll try to see if I can tell you guys ahead of time because this was a surprise that some of you guys were on tonight. Um, so I'll try to see if I can keep that up as I go along. And I hope you guys enjoyed just being able to listen to me ramble on about stuff. And like I said, I'll probably do something a little bit more um, cool. I think one of the things I'll probably do for the next stream is I'll probably do some stuff I was working on for Shadowfall because I'm in the middle of writing the script as well as doing some animation at the same time. So it's just kind of concurrently go back and forth, and as well as doing Reinstated. So I'm working on two projects. I'm working on Shadowfall and I'm working on Reinstated. Okay, there you guys go. All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and I'm gonna see how I can get this thing to turn off here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off screen share. Okay. And then, all right, so I got a button here. Cool. Okay, then. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and hopefully, if you guys again, if you want to ask me questions, there is my email in the about section of YouTube, and you guys can always ask me about that. And I guys hope you enjoyed my first live stream. And again, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, as well as here on YouTube. I do some community posts here as well. And please keep enjoying yourselves and look out for the next episode of Reinstated or the next live broadcast that I do talking about SFM and some of the stuff I'm working on for Shadowfall, because you guys also deserve to know more about that. All right, then. Thank you very much and have a great morning, day, or night wherever you are. Okay. Thank you.